A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sohan.
And this is Atri, and we welcome you to the Smart Power Talk 2020, hosted by the Smart Society USA. Brought to you by IEM, UEM, International Innovale, Club of IEM Kolkata, Rotary International Club of Silicon Valley, IEM Toastmaster, and Business Upside.
Today, we have with us an amazing set of speakers. They will be delivering speeches on different topics. They will be impacting the crowd with their experience and with their knowledge. So without further delay, let's get into the show. Next up, we'll be calling upon the CEO of Executive Coach. He is a corporate trainer and an executive mentor. He helps businesses to grow. Well, so let's call upon none other than Christopher Salim.
Hi, this is Chris Salem. I'm an executive coach, a business advisor for corporations and small businesses, and also a professional speaker. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the power of routine and goal setting. I'm going to share with you a personal story from struggle to success and how the use of power of routine and goal setting helped me to find sustainability in my success throughout my career. To give you a little background, in the past, I've always had a strong work ethic. I was always driven in some way. The issue was that I couldn't find a sustainable pattern to achieve this success. Oftentimes, I would have this glimpses of success where I'd be in the groove, in the zone, only to see it kind of go away. I really never had really specific goals at that time. I always thought that I could pretty much do it, at that time, on the go, shooting from the hip. And while I was really good at relating with people and engaging people, oftentimes I would lose that focus and momentum. I was operating from expectations, and that often led to issues that went unfulfilled and caused some friction in my relationships with clients. Many times I would start businesses only to see success momentarily, and then later for it to go out of business. I always thought I had all the answers here, that I didn't need to write everything down. I could kind of do what I wanted, being spontaneous, and that everything would come together with my hard work alone. Anytime I faced struggles or obstacles, it caused me to be angry. And as a result of that, that often led to strained relationships, ones that I had developed over time to only be strained by the anger. I didn't know how to handle adversity. I didn't know how to handle setbacks and challenges. And oftentimes when they happen, and they always do, I didn't deal with it in a positive way. And as a result of that, I could not find sustainability in building success. In this case, this was in my sales career. Now, I had started different businesses. In this case, I had a health supplement business back when I was in my 20s. And I wasn't able to really sustain that for more than a year before it went out of business. I had success momentarily. These were people I knew from the gym. These are people that I had come to know over the years. But anytime when there were certain other people coming into the industry, competition, any challenges, like I said, it would only go the other way. I didn't know how to handle that adversity, that challenge. And it finally dawned on me that after all these setbacks and all these challenges, that I had to do something different. I just didn't know what to do. I usually didn't have patience. I like to do everything on the fly. But something caught my attention one day when I began to study certain people that were having success, that had similar backgrounds to me, where they would have some success and only lose it. And I began to study these individuals. These were everyday people perhaps you don't even know. There were people like Jack Canfield. And as a result of that, it was not that I was looking to become them. I always knew that I was going to become whoever I was. But I needed to find what that pattern would be for me to find sustainability, to go through challenges and setbacks in a more positive way, not to react, but to be proactive. How I could grow from adversity, how I could grow from challenges. And I began to realize that it all came through developing what we call a routine. So what's a routine? Well, you may have a routine now, but the question is it serving you or not? I can say that in my past, whatever routine I had, which really wasn't a routine, it wasn't working. The health supplement business went under. I got involved in other projects, selling and representing other companies' products to have some success and only see it disappear. If I was going to achieve different results, I had to become different. I had to become more. And as a result of that, I began to look at routine. And I realized that with routine, there was one thing that was going to be the glue that made this stick. Actually, two things. That was discipline and consistency. And while I had struggled throughout my 20s, again, doing everything on the fly, not having any structure or routine, I began to see that there were certain things that I was not doing that I needed to do to develop that foundation. So think about a house. If you want to build a beautiful home, it's got to have a strong, solid foundation to sustain itself. That beautiful home won't last with a faulty foundation. That's why everything I touched would have success only to crumble down, because I didn't have that successful foundation. It had too many cracks in it. So I began to look at what could be the difference maker in me developing a routine that I could start to build that foundation to have success and to build on it. Well, I found the power of meditation and journaling, which changed the quality of my life. It was for the first time that, even though it was very difficult for the first 3 months, I white knuckled it and used discipline to get me through. I had race mind. For me to sit down for a period of time was a daunting task. But I knew if things were had to be different, I had to do things different. And while I persevered using discipline to get me through and getting into the routine of meditation and journaling, I began to become present for the first time in my life, not operating in the past and the future. I began to think clearly. I began to see things differently. And as a result of that, I began to see this on paper because I was journaling without overanalyzing or overthinking. I began to see the things that were blocking me or things that I was not doing, thus why I wasn't having that success. I began to really trust being in the moment, trusting the process, allowing the results to be a byproduct of that process. And I incorporated other things into that routine. Waking up early, making my bed, working out on a consistent basis, reading every day, something relevant to something that was personal to me or what I was working on. And I found something else that was also the difference maker. While discipline and consistency were the two drivers to develop my success foundation, I also found the power of goal setting. But not just writing down goals that were very specific, that were very clear. They were detailed. And they were broken down to everything that I knew, letting go of what I didn't know. They were time-oriented. Now, many people might have heard SMART goals. SMART being, S being specific, M being measurable, A, being achievable, R, being relevant to what your goals are, and T, being time-oriented. I also knew I had to do it differently. I had to do it better than just being smart. I had to exceed, not just achieve, but to make sure that I exceeded in achieving if I was going to see sustainable success at the next level. It was writing down everything that I would do each day, each week, each quarter, each month, each quarter, and how that would roll up to meet those goals over a period of time. Now, I didn't know everything that I needed to do to accomplish something, but I had spent my working career always getting caught up in the things that I couldn't control, what I didn't know, only to lead a life of frustration, being overwhelmed, operating from fear, having no specific goals, having no game plan or foundation. And when I was able to combine that foundation with goal setting that was broken down very specifically, I had something now to follow. I had a clearer picture of where I was going, a roadmap, a blueprint that I could build to achieve whatever that was important to me. And as a result of that, I was able to become a better decision maker, to take more calculated risks as a result of it. I began to see opportunities and blessings disguised in the challenges as a result of that foundation and goal setting. I found a way that I could map out something that I could identify with each and every day and then review them, learning to control what I can, letting go of what I can't. And there is so much power in that. I've been doing this now for over, say, 21 years. And while I did have some success in my 20s, it wasn't sustainable, like I said before. In the last 21 years, I've been able to accomplish a lot, to become financially free, being involved in a company that went public, to become very wealthy as a result of it. Ability to represent other companies from a consultant level, selling their products and services to achieve much success, not only monetarily, but also what I gave in terms of giving without expectation and receiving without resistance. Now, you heard that statement I just said, giving without expectation, receiving without resistance. That was also a statement that was born from the power of routine and goal setting. I began to look at trusting the process, free from expectation tied to outcomes, allowing the results to be a byproduct of what I gave, what I put out there in terms of value, and to be open to receive no matter where it came from. And that opened up the flow of positive energy to bring more prosperity and abundance into my life. To strive for work-life harmony that I never had before, because it was all work, all work, no play, no personal life. And I began to see improvements in my relationships with myself and other people, having more time, because I learned to value my time versus manage it. I wasn't busy and not productive anymore. I was now laser focused in getting things done that really meant something. Making these shifts through the power of the foundation, through routine, through goal setting, has allowed me to achieve so much success in terms of what I've become personally, following my heart, serving my purpose, and allowing everything else, the money, any material things, whatever's important to you, was just a byproduct of all that. So I ask yourself, this idea of the power of goal setting, building a foundation from a routine, How could that change the quality of your life, your career? What are you doing now that's serving you or not serving you? What can you become to be more by being the example for others to do the same, by giving without expectation, receiving without resistance? I share with you this information to empower you to draw your own conclusion what that means to you. Is this an idea that you can wrap your hands around and do something for yourself? Developing a routine and getting more specific and detailed with your goals to follow each day, each week, each month, each quarter, to roll up over time to achieve all the things that you aspire to do. The idea is being shared with you to make that decision for yourself. If something isn't working, that may be something that has to be done differently to become more. I can speak from experience that I was able to do that. And while I've had many setbacks and challenges, over the 21 years, more than I had before, that routine and those goals, doing it in a more specific way, have allowed me to persevere, be resilient, and walk through fear rather than avoid it. And to always come out stronger and even bigger than I've ever had before by going through it. So I leave you with this. Decide what you get from hearing what I've stated today about the idea of putting a routine and goal setting into your life. Try it for a week, try it for a month, and see what difference it can make in your life and your career. Have a great day.
Mr. Salim, thanks a lot for enlightening our crowd with your immense amount of knowledge. Thanks a lot for giving us a perspective on the corporate world. Thanks a lot for attending our event, and thanks a lot for being a part of it. Have a great day.
So up next, we have with us Mr. Eric Huang, the CEO of the Advanced Analytics and Research Lab. He is highly passionate about understanding the world and its dynamics. He loves understanding people, information, and data. So let's connect with Mr. Eric in Jiffy.
Hi, my name is Eric Huang. I am the founder and CEO of Advanced Analytics and Research Lab. We help the best companies use analytics in a service and solutions format. And essentially, we help them do everything from collecting data to reporting on the data, to analyzing the data, to using advanced analytics such as predictive modeling, optimization, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. All of that to help them drive new revenue, decrease costs, and ultimately increase their bottom line. So today I want to talk to everybody about the challenges and rewards of entrepreneurship. So a little bit of my background. I am someone who is very fascinated with the world, very curious. I did 3 degrees at Western University and Ivy Business School. I did a degree in honors economics where I specialize in econometrics. I also have a business undergraduate and my master's of science in analytics. After that, after school, I worked in finance, social sectors. I worked at PwC in analytics consulting for a little bit. And when I was working at a manufacturing researcher, I had a pleasure of talking to many different CEOs of manufacturing companies. And I always asked them, because I was fascinated about data analytics, I always asked them what kind of analytics do they use. And to my surprise, a lot of them actually don't use that much analytics, which kind of says a lot about kind of the landscape in the industry today. And I asked myself, hey, that's actually kind of weird because I know that there is a need for analytics. It is really the future, and I know how much value it can drive through my experiences. So in that sense, I decided to strike out on my own and started this company really aiming to help small, medium enterprises, nonprofits, but also large clients to utilize analytics. There's a ton of kind of theory, tools, and lots of different methods out there to analyze data, but there isn't a lot of people helping organizations to use these methods, very, very sophisticated data analytical techniques, and to help businesses really find practical use cases to drive their bottom line. So I've been asked to talk about the challenges of entrepreneurship, but also the rewards. So in terms of challenges, I guess first off, I just want to say, I certainly feel very fortunate to be in a position to be able to start a company on my own. There certainly is a huge need for a good, I think, network and support system. My friends, my family, my colleagues were all very supportive of it, of me starting my own company. I have enough money saved up, I know, for at least a few months of rent, but if anything, I can always kind of move back to my parents' basement, which I ultimately did. At some point at the beginning, coming in and out of my parents' basement, and they were always very welcoming, which was nice. I just want to point out, I guess, and I'm sure a lot of people have the same experience as me, which is, the first few months, the first year, maybe the first even 2 years is just really, really difficult. Oftentimes you're trying to find your product or service market fit, and you're talking to a lot of people, you're trying to get your sales, and particularly for my line of work, getting a deal done in analytics services, first off, is sometimes could be very high value, but also it takes quite a bit of time because there's a lot of education involved to try to figure out what analytics is and how it's applicable to every single client. So, the first couple of months, I was very, very disappointed, and I almost want to say depressed. After many, many no's and hundreds of no's. And I remember actually the day I got my first deal, because I think I was so overworked and so tired and also so disappointed all the time, that the day I got my first deal, I can probably say that was probably one of the happiest moments of my life. Just feeling very validated, and it's a very cool feeling. I remember I think smiling so hard on the subway ride home in Toronto. I also want to point out, I guess, how important it is to keep your health as good as possible. And when I say health, I mean both physical health, mental health, and also, depending on who you are, spiritual health. So for me, especially at the beginning, I had some money saved up, but very, very little. So, after paying rent, I was trying to eat very optimally, and this kind of speaks to my kind of analytical background. So I was optimizing my food to focus on kind of 4 objectives, which is the cost, the speed of delivery, so I can eat as fast as possible, prepare it and clean up, as well as the nutrition. And then the 4th kind of criteria, which is taste, I didn't really care much about. So I remember eating just beans and veggies and living on kind of a $20-$30 a month diet, which was kind of crazy. I hope my mom doesn't see this, but that's kind of what it takes sometimes to kind of save up as much money and kind of pour your heart and soul into the company. And because there isn't a whole lot of revenue at the beginning of the company, and our business model was totally different back then, that I was teaching actually over the weekends. So I was just working long hours, 7 days a week, teaching on the weekends for hours at a time to try to make sure there's some sort of income. So I think in the first year, education and teaching was about 80% of the revenue, and then over time it becomes closer to kind of 5 to 10%. And one of the things that you always think about, I think, when you start a company is that you're always thinking about when you should quit and go back to your kind of corporate job. I had quite a few offers for me to work in corporations, consulting firms, and whatnot, but that almost kind of make it worse sometimes because I always knew there was an out if I wanted it. So it's like, how much perseverance do you have to try to stick it out? And there are certainly days where you wonder whether you should quit or not, and to go back to your to a job and go back to a place where people can tell you what to do instead of you figuring out what you need to do and actually do it. And aside from kind of the entrepreneurial challenges, lots of ups and downs, I also want to know, I guess, a really big thing that perhaps made me not as confident as I am today is the fact that when I started the company, I was actually fairly young. So I was 23 when I started the company, and I think for a lot of people, they find it difficult, especially hiring a consultant who is a little bit younger. And I get asked all the time how old I was when I go to meetings. And I try to deflect it, but I always tell them my actual age, and people are always surprised. And that's actually, I think, part of why I always try to dress a little bit older than I actually am. So I'm kind of gotten used to wearing bow ties and a vest and trying to look a little bit older. I think luckily, I having been able to had my 3 degrees already, and the fact that perhaps my temperament is a little bit like an old man, sort of a joke, that I think that ultimately, people who did believe in, hiring people who are smart, hungry, and also, creative and innovative and has a lot of different ideas, people find that kind of helpful. And luckily, there were a couple of clients who saw, something in me and my team, and were able to actually hire me to do some really cool projects. It is now 4 years later, since I started the company. We had certainly a lot of ups and downs, and I'm not saying there are no challenges in 2 days for our company, but certainly the first 2 years was really rough for me on a personal, emotional, physical level. And now things, now that I have a team together and we are able to actually, work on delegating, but also scaling, and also having the fact that, we've had a few projects under the belt, that we have that validation and experience, that it's a little bit more simple, perhaps, not easier, but more simple to go and kind of continue to grow the company. I would say we're growing at a fairly quick pace, more than double every single year since the first year in terms of various metrics. And we're continue to kind of build on analytical services and solutions, trying to scale up as much as possible, finding new talents, tackling all the really cool challenges that is both entrepreneurial but also for our line of work in analytics. We have a great team with diverse talents. Analytics is one of those disciplines that you need very different kinds of people within the same team. Data engineers, creative business people, marketing, HR, manufacturing, technical engineers, database people, physicists, mathematicians, all of that. So kind of having that and building the culture around respect, trust, integrity, but also having fun and being creative and innovative. That's certainly something that's really cool. That something I wanted to do for sure. And now we're working with some really cool kind of top industry players in manufacturing, real estate, healthcare, a lot of nonprofits. And that's actually, something that really was important to me since the beginning, which is to work with the small, medium enterprises, everything from, little cupcake shops to nonprofits, soup kitchens, all the way to, hospitals and things like that. that has always been super important to me to actually kind of leverage analytics in the nonprofit and social sector. Certainly, as an entrepreneur, it's very difficult and there's lots of sacrifices. But for me, it certainly was worth it in the end. Well, certainly not the end yet. There's lots of rewarding challenges I have to deal with every single day, and I get to talk to really cool people, learn about very cool challenges, and just the whole intellectual pursuit, as well as just understanding the human aspect behind the numbers and all of that is just so fascinating and so rewarding for me. And ultimately, we want to work on difficult problems that will have a positive impact in the world, and build a great team, scale up, being able to travel around the world and work on different projects in different contexts and things like that. So thank you very much for having me and for listening to this speech. Feel free to reach out to me. You should be able to have my contact. If anything, just look up our website, Advanced Analytics and Research Lab, and I'm more than happy to buy you a cup of coffee or have some lunch, maybe post-COVID. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Eric, for sharing such a motivational story with us. Your love and passion for understanding the world and the data and information inspires each one of us. Thanks a lot for joining in with us.
Now, I would like to call upon a very special person. This person is on a mission to impact. This person has a lot of businesses to deal with, but then again, she's always there when people need her. Her NGO throws kindness like in confetti. I'm talking about no other than Lee M. Clark, the CKO of Kindly. So let's bring her on.
Hi, I'm Lee Clark, and I'm here today to do a smart power talk for you on the struggle to success. Aside from a busy career transforming businesses through technology, I'm also working to transform the world through kindness with my nonprofit, Kindly. I want to tell you the story today of how a loss of job and a change of my life helped me to find my purpose and will hopefully inspire you to find yours. Back in 2008, I was at the height of my career. I was always a hard worker. I actually started at a newspaper office at the age of 11, stuffing envelopes because I was so eager to get to work. By the age of 14, I was salting the fries at McDonald's and collecting my first W-2. I continued on and began a career in software sales at the age of 23, and by the age of 28, I was a director of marketing at a software company in New York. I was really proud of all that I had achieved and felt like I was on the trajectory to success. And then I had my first experience with adulting. The recession of 2008 hit, the real estate market plummeted, and all of a sudden, a luxury like a marketing department and extra budget went out the window at the company I worked for, and with it, my job. And I held on for a while, and I thought I could bootstrap by myself in New York. I hoped to launch a company with my tiny severance, and figured I could make it work and I could still succeed. But again, adulting and the reality of life caught up with me. First, I couldn't afford my cable, then my water, then my rent, and I realized that I had to figure out a new plan. I was fortunate enough to have parents that would allow me to come home. As difficult as that was for my ego, I knew I was fortunate to have that situation. But I had come to have a deep realization about my life that would forever change it, and would change what would happen for me in the years to come. I spent that year at home with my family, working in a sushi restaurant, figuring out my way back to corporate success. And with it, I realized that I had tied my entire existence and my purpose to what I did for work. And without it, I really had no sense of who I was. Maybe it was a bit of an existential crisis or a midlife crisis in my early 30s, but I really had to face a part of myself that I hadn't before. Having been inspired by my career and always driven and knowing if I worked hard, I would do well, I always felt fulfilled. I felt successful. But when I realized without my job, I really didn't know who I was. I know I had to do something drastic to figure out my way back to having a career but also having a purpose that was within my soul. So I did make it back into software sales, and gratefully, I moved to Florida, I joined a Fortune 500 company, and I began to sell again. But I hadn't forgotten that experience that I had when I had to take a long look at myself and what I stood for. During the time that I was off of work and had a lot of time to think, I did some research on human psychology. I was looking to figure out what was my motivation, what motivated people, what made the difference between somebody who was succeeding or somebody who was, just trying to survive and trying to stay afloat. And in that, I started to research one of the psychology standards called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Many people are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs as it is a theory on what motivates humans. And I'm going to talk to you about that really quickly and how that applies to me eventually uncovering my purpose. So at the base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there are your basic needs: eating, breathing, sleeping, etc. These are the things we need to just survive. If you ever had somebody ask you, are you thriving or are you surviving? Your physiological needs are basically you are just surviving. Beyond your physiological needs, your next needs are safety needs. Having a car, having a house, having a job, having insurance, having things that protect you from peril, and protect you from the environment, and protect you from having challenges that you may face. And beyond your physiological needs and your needs to feel safe, you get into your next needs, which are your social needs. Social needs are really important. Your fellowship, your community, your friends, your relationships. Today in the digital age, we see that with social media, communities, your likes, your followers, your shares. As humans, we're all motivated by being a part of something bigger than ourselves. And it starts with other people. It starts with being connected to community. And once you get beyond your community needs, you move into ego and esteem needs. I really think that that's where I was at that point in my life when I felt so proud of myself being a director of marketing, is, your ego and esteem needs, which aren't necessarily a bad thing, is your need to feel like validated by what you've achieved professionally. Perhaps your degree, perhaps the type of job you have, perhaps it's about, papers you've written or places you've been published or awards you've received. These are the things that we use to motivate ourselves beyond our social needs, but our needs to feel like we're being validated for what we contribute in some way. And once you've achieved that and you feel like you're contributing in some way and you have your social needs met, your safety needs, your physiological needs, you move into what they call self-actualization. And that's understanding your purpose. Well, your purpose is kind of a difficult thing. Like most people say to me, that's great, but I don't know what my purpose is. And, I often reference the quote by Aristotle, which is, your purpose is where your gifts, talents, and abilities meet a human need. Therein you will discover your purpose. So it's not as important to figure out what your purpose is, but figure out what you like to do, what you're good at, and how you can give back to people by doing so. So Maslow had finished his theory of motivation at this, and I was hell-bent on trying to figure out my purpose. But beyond your purpose, there's one more level that Maslow ended up revising his theory to include in the 70s, which is transcendence, which is being beyond oneself, being beyond just what your purpose is, and having the ability to give back to the community at large. And I really think that's what Aristotle meant when he said your gifts, talents, and abilities meeting a human need. Therein you'll discover your purpose. Is being beyond oneself means not only am I a resource, but how can I help others? How can I solve problems? How can I take what I love and use it to serve the world? It's a servant leadership mindset and it's a servant heart. So here I was back at work. It's now about 2012. I still know that I love working. I love feeling valued. I love to be able to help my team achieve goals, help my company succeed. But I wanted to give back. I wanted to know how could I be a resource to the world. So one holiday season, I decided to give myself a challenge. And for 30 days, I did a random act of kindness every single day. At first, I didn't know how to give back. I had always felt like giving back was for people who had really big checkbooks that could write the checks with all the commas, or for people who had a lot of time on their hands. And at that point, I really didn't feel that I had either. I mean, I had some money, but we were trying to start a family. And I had some time, but it was very limited with the amount of work I was doing in my busy software career. but I thought about doing some random acts of kindness. I figured, hey, random acts of kindness is not really a big commitment. You know, each day I'll just think of something to do. And I started researching all the different things you could do, and I was very inspired. I even called the local United Way and asked them what kind of things that they had opportunities to either donate, you know, old towels to a dog shelter or volunteer at a local event during my 30-day spree. It was immediately evident to me that I had stepped into something larger than myself, because when I was able to carry out these random acts of kindness, something happened. It transformed the way I felt. I felt so happy to give back, but even more so, I felt happy when I connected with another human in a selfless way that made them feel seen and valued, and I just wanted to do more. I didn't know how, but I wanted to do more. And because I'm naturally like an enthusiastic person, I started sharing on social media in an effort to inspire my friends. I was like, guys, this feels so good. You should do it. You should give back. You should, you know, find a way to do random acts of kindness. And at the time, it wasn't often shared on social media that people, you know, did these random acts of kindness, let alone posted them online. And so I was met with a bit of resistance, like, well, what are you looking for by sharing this? Do you want us to congratulate you for being nice? And I'm like, no, you're missing the point. The point is that I really want you guys to feel inspired to do the same, because it made me feel so good, and it made this other person who I did the act of kindness feel so good that, you know, I want everyone to feel that good. I had known what it was like to feel like I wasn't succeeding when I lost my job, and I felt just immediately successful by doing something kind for someone else. So initially I had to figure out a way to fund my new kindness habit. I wanted to give back so much, but I only had so much money and I only had so much time. So I started to sell paintings. I had, you know, you think about gifts, talents, and ability. I come from a long line of artists, and I knew how to paint. So I would do little paintings, and I would sell them at local farmers markets, sometimes not even making enough money to cover the rent of my booth. But whatever money I did make from the farmers market, I would go ahead and put towards random acts of kindness. And then Kindly was born. And you know, Kindly has gone on to become a national nonprofit with kindness ambassadors in over 20 cities across the U.S. and a kindness community that has near 18,000 members and growing every day. What I found on my struggle to success was that the real key to happiness for me was not just figuring out what was my purpose and how could I feel professionally satisfied or satisfied in my life and my achievements, but when I uncovered real happiness, it was when I found a way to give back to others in a way that was pure and honest and good. And so today, when the team at Smart Power Talks asked me to come and give a talk about the struggle to success, it was easy to see what kind of story I'd share with you today. I know in my heart that the peak human experience is generosity of spirit. Generosity of spirit is the definition of transcendence. And all that means is figuring out how you can be a resource to others, and then acting on that. Figuring out how selflessly you can give back. And what people fail to realize, a lot of people feel like, you know, they need to take care of number one, they need to take care of themselves, and they don't really have it to give to others. But the reality is, both you and the recipient benefit when you do something kind. Both you and that other human have an experience that bonds you together. But it's not entirely selfless. It is something that's going to lift your spirit and make you feel better than you felt before. And I think as humans, we're always looking for things to make us feel better. Some people escape by reading a book, watching TV, having a glass of wine. You know, some people love shopping or gambling, or there's so many things we are constantly pursuing to see how we can uncover happiness, how we can mitigate our stress, how we can feel relieved in life. But what I want you to think about today is how could you add random acts of kindness to your day and see if you can uncover another way to elevate your mood, to elevate your human experience, and to change the life of others by doing something kind, no matter how small. It could even be leaving a couple of quarters at the laundromat and telling somebody their laundry's on you as a random act of kindness. It could be genuinely complimenting a stranger you see, or even somebody who's not a stranger. I mean, heck, you could even not engage on that political fight online that you're so dying to put your perspective on. There's so many moments throughout the day that we can find generosity in our hearts and find a way to see one another and think about the way that it's mutually beneficial, and that on the struggle to success, it's actually really easy. If you want to feel successful, find a way to help someone else, in business and in life. And today I am the proud Chief Kindness Officer, and I still have a very busy career in technology. But my goal in this world is to leave my mark by not only transforming the customers I work with each day, but by transforming the world at large, by sharing with them what I shared with you today. I hope you'll keep me in the loop on your journey as it unfolds, and I hope you'll share this with your contacts so that they have the opportunity to give back, because together we make a difference, and we can make the world a nicer place, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you.
Ms. Clark, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming to our event. Thanks a lot for motivating everybody with your experience. Thanks a lot for coming to our show. Have a great day, have a great evening, and just have a great life ahead. Thanks a lot.
So for today's event, we have with us a special person. She is the CEO and the founder for Roiby Robot, the world's first AI-powered smart toy. It teaches children language and STEM skills. It is recognized by the Times Magazine as the biggest invention in education. So without much of a delay, let's call upon Ms. Elna Saraf.
Hello everyone, my name is Elna Saraf. I'm the founder and CEO of Roiby Robot, which is an AI-powered educational robot for kids in language learning and basic STEM. I moved to the US about 15 years ago, worked on several projects, and finally co-founded my first company about 8 years ago, which we have baby monitors. And then about 3.5 years ago, I started my current company, Roiby. I also am on the board of Consumer Electronics Association, Small Business Council. I'm an official member of the Forbes Technology Council, senator and ambassador of the world's largest international angel investment forum, and I'm also a mentor at several accelerators. Arriving in the US actually brought so much excitement and opportunities for me. I always been interested in running my business because my father was a businessman in Iran, and I would always accompany him to his ventures. I found it really exciting about building and running a business because of its challenging nature of, for example, in finance, marketing, strategy, operations. So I always wanted to have my own business. And when I moved to the US, that was the biggest dream that I had. And I saw a lot of opportunities in the US to do that. But my biggest and major obstacle in the beginning was my lack of knowledge about this country's culture, the one that I joined as an immigrant. Not only did I want first to finish my education, but I also wanted to know more about the US and how things work actually, how to open a business, run the business, and create a company that its product would actually benefit society. My major obstacle when I started my business was to raise capital for my ventures. You know, when I moved here, I had limited networking in the investment community in the US, and I had to start everything from zero. Many doors got closed on me, and raising funds felt like more challenging than I actually expected. But I didn't give up because, in my opinion, every rejection really taught me a new lesson. It helped me change my approach, strategies, and even ideas. They also taught me valuable lessons in knowing how to separate the feedback that I want to take away with me and those that maybe didn't really help my company's growth. Both my ventures were in products that required work in both software and hardware. Each one of these, components raise its own challenge. But I must say, when you have a hardware product, it makes it even more challenging because so much goes into building a hardware. And even if a small part of it is not in the right place with the other components, can create a lot of challenges. But also building a physical product requires a lot of capital. When we started Roby, we didn't even have a working prototype, so it was difficult to convince the investors to trust us and put their money into our company and idea. I constantly was thinking, should I first raise the capital, then build a prototype, or do I need to somehow build the prototype and then raise the capital? But we were really lucky because after so many failed attempts and more than 200 rejections from investors, we finally got to raise our first round of funding, which was 4.2 million in financing in our seed round. This amount we received really helped us to start building our prototype. In the process, I learned about how important it is to make sure that we are continuously testing our product and getting feedback and making sure when we launch the product to the market, it's not faulty. And of course, we also had some instances that the technology caused some problems for our users, but I would say, these things are typically normal for hardware companies. We also wanted to make sure that our product is an impactful educational tool rather than just being a toy. So we met up with child psychologists, teachers, researchers in early childhood education to make sure our robot's content is really aligned with the latest research and also standards. Creating a method for teaching through the robot is very exciting, but it's just in its beginning time. And because our goal was to create a companion robot that interacts with children, we knew that the first important thing is making sure that we can build a trust between the robot and the child. And as much as the physical appearance of the robot is important, it is also really important to create this bond and connection with the child through conversations. So we consulted a lot of researchers and professionals to develop the right approach to teaching and entertaining children while they actually learn. So it took us quite some time. We really started with a broad thinking about the content. But when we did a lot of testing and spoke with experts, we realized that we have to narrow down our approach in teaching languages, because language is the building block of any other skills. So we took the advice, and now our robot, its first and foremost capabilities to teach languages that broadly also covers other topics like social sciences, math, arts, and so much more actually. It really took us months and lots of user testing to get to this point. But now product is at a stage that our customers are saying that they're really having fun interacting with this educational robot. Another challenge in the path of success in our startup has always been hiring the right talents, that the people that share similar passion as us in education and technology, and people who are really ready to bring fresh new ideas to the table. Not only to just create the product and contribute to the company's growth, but we are always looking for people to bring creativity and having the ability to solve problems when there is a lot of work in creating this innovative product. The concept of teaching with technology, and especially with a tutor robot, has not really been around for many years. So it is challenging to find the right candidates with specific experience. So defining a certain position in our startup has been really challenging. A lot of times even listing the requirements becomes challenging. And our company and like so many other startups is changing rapidly. So when I have interviews with people, I really try my best to focus on the candidates, not on how many years of experience they have, but to really think about the diversity of skills that they can bring to the company. So that has brought a lot of challenges because it is time consuming, but of course it's worth it because you want to make sure that the team that you have is sharing the same passion and vision with the other team members in the company. I believe, especially also with products that deals with children, the responsibilities are always also much higher. So onboarding the right fit has always been really essential for us because we believe, again, the right team can help the company, and with any startups, they can help the company to grow rapidly. And that has been one of the reasons for our success, because we have an incredible team, passionate and skillful, and really helped us to build a successful product. And we've got a lot of attention from the media, to the point that our robot got featured on the cover of Time magazine as one of the best inventions of 2019. Recently, our last challenge of this year, I would say probably, is the localization. We are growing rapidly and we are expanding into many regions, but now we have to adjust our technology to the requirements of every new market. We are continuously making adjustments to our content, to the robots, to the languages, and every part of the globe that we launch, we also need to consider the culture as well. So it is really essential to find the right partners who can help to understand the country's rules, culture, just regulations, and making sure we have the right approach and standards. And of course, these things take months of research and development, and especially for startups, it is time consuming. And with the startup spirit, everybody wants to do things fast, but you also need to consider that everything great that you're building takes time. Despite the challenges that we face every day, we always cheer up together as a team as we get some exciting feedback from our customers, or for example, we get some emails of collaborations that teachers and researchers are really interested and excited about collaborating on our product. It just makes us really excited. It gives us a lot of energy, and it really encourages us to continue moving forward despite the sleepless nights, stressful days, because when you're building a company, a startup with a meaningful mission, it is important to also listen to the feedback of your customers and market. So when we hear positive feedback, we get really excited, And when we also get constructive criticism, we realize that we have to make our product better and better every day. And we believe that our product can really impact the lives of so many children around the world in the way that they learn in the future. My final advice is to be persistent and believe in your dreams. Work on something that you truly love and care deeply about. That way, if any challenge comes your way, if there are some difficulties in the business, you can always overcome it and be on your path to a successful journey. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Miss Elnaz, for sharing such amazing story with us. Your education, your learnings, your life story. I hope each one of us is enlightened by it. Thanks a lot.
Well, I really feel knowledgeable after this entire session, but sadly it has to end. Well, we are at the end of our session, and I would really like to thank all the speakers that we had on board for giving us the valuable time and for giving us the knowledge that they possess.
We would like to thank our honorable speakers and our lovely audience for staying tuned with us. Thanks a lot. Good night and goodbye.